So a while back I bought this parts truck. It's a Cummins 5-speed truck. I really didn't need it, but I really like the wheels on it, and I'm going to see if we can't use these on our van. As per usual, I didn't have the right key, so this actually took me 2 trips to do this. I had to go get the right key for it. I thought they were Gorilla locks, and they ended up being some funky one. Alright guys, there's no weight on it, but looks pretty good from this angle as far as the style of the wheel. Obviously the tires are crap, but I don't think I'm good with that. So I need to dismount this and measure what that is. I have a different set of wheels that I might be able to use on it that are a Beadlock wheel, but I was thinking these wheels would look cool on there. And I do like the wheel, I just don't think I like them on this van. I don't want it sticking out that far. And I thought these were going to be more of a neutral offset, like a 0 offset wheel, which is what I have. I have an 8.5 0 offset, so that'll be 4 3/4 back spacing. And that's about what this measures, but then on the other side, it's like 5 3/4, which is telling us this is probably like a 9.5 inch wheel. But anyway, let's get it dismounted, take a look at it, measure what it is, and then we'll play with the other wheel and compare. All right. I'm spinning the whole valve stem. Do it this way. And that right there is why you always look at date codes when buying used tires. Say that tire had good tread on it, you'd probably think it was a good tire. And I tell you what, you slice a tire like that, it should not explode outside like that one did. All right guys, so I got the wheel dismounted. Now we can actually measure to see what this wheel actually is. So this wheel, here, let's do it right side up so you can see it. It's a 9-inch wheel, so it's inside to inside. So now when we're talking back spacing and everything, we have to go to the outside, so it's a 10-inch wheel. So what's the offset on it? And just look across. So we have 4.5 inches of back spacing. So now what does that jive? That means that this wheel, 0 would be 5. And if it's 4.5, it's going in, that's negative about 12 millimeters. So this is a minus 12 millimeter wheel. Now, we could probably look up that part number, I think, and we actually see what this is. So let's see if we can confirm what we just measured. All right, so I found the wheel. It took me a little bit because I thought these were Eagle wheels because that's the center caps they had, but it's not. It's a Renegade from Raceline, and there you have it, 17 by 9 minus 12. So we nailed it. All right guys, so a while back I did a short on offset versus back spacing. It's helped a lot of people out, so I'm going to do a little bit better of a job and simpler of a job on this one. So this is the outside of the wheel, just like it would be bolted onto this van. This is negative offset. This is positive offset. So we have that squared away. 0 offset's going to be right in the middle. This is a 9-inch wheel. Now how does a 0 offset to a 9-inch wheel correlate to back spacing? The very first thing you need to do, whatever width the wheel is add 1 inch. So this 9-inch wheel is actually a 10. And the reason is 9 is into inside, but when they give you back spacing, it's to the outside. And it's generally about a 1/2 inch. Sometimes your face slip is a little bit thicker, but that's irrelevant anyway. So 0 offset on our 9 that's actually 10-inch wheel, 5-inch back spacing. That's why it never seems to make sense. Plus 12, it's just plus 12. So that you're adding back spacing, plus 12, which is about a 1/2 inch, so 5.5. Minus 12, you're taking 1/2 inch away, it's 4.5. So there's your correlation from back spacing and your plus and minus. Just think of it, plus 12 is actually adding back spacing. We already know middle on a 9-inch wheel, which is 10, is 5. So that plus any number or minus any number is how much you're adding or subtracting from back spacing. So at least those two numbers jive. It's just that 1 inch that you have to add on to your wheel width. I think that sets everyone off. All right, well, now let's put it all into practice here. So that was our 17 by 9 with our minus 12, so 4.5 inches of back spacing. And here is an 8.5 wide wheel. Now keep in mind this is a Bead-Lock, so the tire actually goes on the outside of the tire wheel, the side towards me. The tire's on that side, and then there's a Bead-Lock ring that clamps it in there. But that's an 8.5 0. So that has 4 3/4 inch backspacing. So it's going to be inset just a little bit farther. And basically, since it's a 1/2 inch narrower of a wheel, plus that 1/4 inch, it's about 3/4 inch farther inset once the wheel is fully assembled. Now it's a little bit exaggerated since that outer lip's not on there, but you get the point. Well, I guess I never even showed you what that wheel looks like. So it's a Method Racing. It's identical wheel to what we put on, identical, same offset and everything that we have on the Safari Wagon project. So it's a 1965 Pontiac Safari Wagon. I still have the car. I drive it around all the time. Quite a few things have been done to it since this video, but this showcased the wheels pretty good. This was actually my first YouTube build on this channel. All right, I like to mount these up on the rig instead of doing it on the ground or on a bench or anything like that. I find it's easiest to do it while it's mounted to the rig just because the wheel is held stationary. If you have a tire machine, you could do it that way as well, but I think this works pretty good to do it this way. So I use balancing beads on pretty much anything mud terrain. I'll use balancing beads instead of spin balancing. Now, if you have a machine that can actually put the load on the tire where they have the wheel that actually is pushing on the tire, that balancing method works pretty good, but I don't have a machine that does that. I have a spin balancer, but I find that it doesn't work very good on off-road tires. So the balancing beads work pretty good, but you will notice it on a Jeep under 45 miles an hour. You'll start feeling them start to kick in around 45 miles an hour, and it is noticeable, but you get used to it. And then it's pretty good down the freeway. So I use a drill with a clutch. So I adjust the clutch to a fairly light pressure at first, and then once you get to where everything is getting fairly tight, I'll jump the clutch up to like 15, the tightest setting. And you'll have to go around the rim a number of times with it, because every time you go around the rim or the ring, it will squish the tire just a little bit more. And you want to keep doing that until basically the bolts aren't turning anymore. And at that point, the ring should be metal to metal mounted to the wheel. And at that point, then we can start torquing it. Now, what you keep seeing me do, I'm using a piece of paper to see if I can slip it in between the wheel and the ring. In short, all you're trying to do is tighten this ring on there without bending it. It's very easy to bend your ring just by trying to tighten the bolts because you're squeezing a lot of rubber. All right, guys, so we confirmed that our ring is touching our wheel all the way around, so now we can torque it. I'm going 15 foot-pounds with anti-seize. I think technically 13 is where you'd go, but I'm going 15, and the reason I do that is because the tire is resisting you a little bit. You should be tightening metal to metal, though. That's what you should be torquing. So I go around it at 15 foot-pounds, and if I had a single bolt in there that on my second time around, it had to turn to get to 15 foot-pounds, that means I'm going to have to, once I finish that circle, go around it again. And I keep doing that until I can make it the 360 without having to turn a single bolt. Then I can confirm that we actually were tightening the ring to the wheel and we weren't actually just tightening the ring to the tire. Because if it's just to the tire, that bolt is going to come loose and potentially break off. So you need to make sure that ring is all the way onto the wheel. And just the only way to really confirm that is just to keep going around it until you don't have a single bolt turn at 15 foot-pounds, and that works out pretty good. And once you get that done, then you can inflate it, and you still have to watch your inner bead. Your inner bead still needs to pop on. So as we're watching this inner bead pop on there, you know what that means is that you need at least a bead breaker to get this tire back off of here. All right, so now we can move on to the next one. I put the Loctite in the bolt holes, which is technically you should be doing it on your bolts. But I find when you do it on the bolt, the reason I don't do it is because then you have Loctite trailing out of your bolts every time you drive the rig. So if you do them in the hole, the Loctite tends to stay in the hole, so you don't get it trailing. And it would be better if you put it on the bolt, but that's the reason why I don't. So then it's fairly easy. This next one took me about 30 minutes, and then the following two take me about 20 minutes each. So it goes faster and faster as you go. All right, guys, now that we're professionals, I wanted to point out one thing. The ring on these Method wheels and most Beadlock wheels that you'd buy and not make yourself, The bolts are never in shear. All the shear is being handled by the machining on the wheel to the ring. So it's essentially like a hub-centric ring. So the bolts aren't actually holding that ring centered at all. That's all handled by the machining. And the only thing the bolts are doing is the tension pulling the two parts together. That's all the bolts are doing. Now, there's a lot of bolts because you don't want that ring to warp and everything, so you got to have them pretty close together, which is why they're like that. So you don't have to have some big gnarly ring on the outside that can handle having less bolts. So that's the reason there. So you shouldn't be breaking bolts in shear, even if you were to smack that ring on a rock and break your wheel. The bolts probably shouldn't be breaking. They might break out the side of the wheel, but the bolts themselves shouldn't be breaking in that situation. So this tire was actually, the beads were actually real wide on it, so I actually had to use the ring to hold the tire up so that I could get it started on that first lip, which you can't fit your fingers in there, so you got to use a screwdriver to do it. So that was kind of annoying. That took a little bit of time. That added a couple minutes to the install of this one. I was trying to do them as fast as I could, get less than 20 minutes, but 20 minutes kind of seems to be the magical number. It's about as fast as I can get them done. You know, not that I do this every day, but I do it often enough to where I feel like I should be able to do it a little faster, because 20 minutes feels like a long time mounting up a tire. And you just saw me screw up. I never aired up the left rear. I guess I thought I was going to do it in the next one, so I set it down and I already had a flat tire. Not even on the bead. But I think this thing turned out super cool. It's sitting a little higher than I want, but it also doesn't have anything in it. It's just a hollow shell sitting on here.